Hello, I'm Joseph Giunta, the music director and conductor of the Des Moines Symphony. Welcome you to another edition of the DMSO Listening Room, a part of the DMSO at Home series. On the occasion of his 50th birthday, Jan Sibelius conducted his 5th symphony with the Helsinki Symphony Orchestra. It was a grand occasion, an all Sibelius program that also featured his 2 violin serenades and the tone poem Oceanides. He was by now a famous international composer thanks to his popular 2nd Symphony being performed in Germany and Italy and France and the United States. The 5th Symphony went through several revisions until 1919, when Sibelius was finally pleased and had his symphony published. He wrote this magnificent piece during World War I. It is one of the great experiments in innovation. For example, the first movement was originally 2 movements, but in the final form became 1 movement with 2 contrasting sections. First, a slow, grand opening which morphs through rhythmic modulation into a scherzo. This is connected through the wonderful horn call we hear at the beginning of the piece that appears throughout the symphony. This opening movement begins innocently, but then turns dark quickly. The way he takes the themes through various changes is remarkable, similar to what Beethoven did with rhythmic motives throughout a piece. The second movement, in G major, is a simple theme, 2 groups, each of 5 quarter notes, followed by a quarter rest. The movement is a set of variations on this rhythm and is quite effective. It could easily be a Haydn or Mozart slow movement in a more modern setting. The finale begins with buzzing strings in E-flat major. Eventually, 2 horns enter with a majestic horn call in a chorale-like fashion that connects this movement with the others. There's some tension and dissonance that battles off and on, and finally, we hear that wonderful horn call again, but this time on the trumpet. With a jarring moment, 2 keys played simultaneously with the eventual E-flat winning. The piece ends strangely with 6 loud chords separated by breathtaking silence. It reminds me of Stravinsky being asked by an interviewer one time about if he worries about writing so many notes. His response was that he was far more worried about the silences than the notes, because it's the silences that are so effective when just the right music surrounds them. Certainly Sibelius knew this and used it as the most stunning and effective ending of any modern symphony. His 6th Symphony, completed in 1923, is one of the strangest works that I know. There is no slow movement to this work, and the sound points towards the treble-sounding instruments. In other words, the bass instruments are underused, with the unusual choice of adding a bass clarinet, the only time this instrument is used in any symphony of Sibelius's. His choice of harmony is also noticeable. It's not dissonant like Bartók, Schoenberg, or other composers of the time. It's not veiled or nuanced like the Impressionists Ravel and Debussy. It's not even based on modern scales. He chooses to use a mode, the Dorian mode to be specific, to act as his harmonic home base. Now, modes were the predecessor of the modern major and minor scales. They were used pre-18th century. Now, if you play all the white keys between D and D on the piano, you'll have the Dorian mode. The result is music that sounds old and new at the same time. It's pure, mysterious, and gives the impression of being from another place, another world. By this time of Sibelius's development, he allowed his themes to dictate the form of the piece, rather than diverting back to the more traditional forms. This gave each movement a spontaneous and unbridled feel. Each theme was new and gave way to something unexpected. Sibelius himself said, "I am a slave to my themes." The piece begins with two sections of violins sliding past each other down a modal scale. Eventually, the flute and oboes join antiphonally, much like what might happen in Palestrina's music. The second movement is mysterious, with timpani, flutes, and bassoons setting the mood. It contains some beautiful colors, rather than the straightforward themes. Next comes a study in rhythm, a scherzo, fast and flighty. Again, the melodic elements are colorful, and it begins with loud brass playing in contrast to this very quiet piece. The finale opens like the first movement, with descending scale and then answered antiphonally by the lower strings. The tempo speeds up with force, but then is interrupted by the beginning violin music again. The ending is far from traditional and basically just fades away into the mystery that started the piece, still leaving many questions unanswered. This piece seems to resist drama and depends on many overlapping themes to take us wherever Sibelius wants us to go. Sibelius once said, "It always reminded me of the first snow, unpredictable, but always welcome." That's it for today's listening room. Go to dmsymphony.org for video links to the music I just spoke about. And for more online content, join us for our DMSO at Home series, featuring self-produced videos from our musicians' homes to yours. Thanks so much for watching. Next time, I'll speak about Sibelius' fabulous 7th Symphony.